Here is everything you can prepare for this grind. I know it seems a lot, but this is the nature of this relic. You don't have to have all of them to start this grind, but it will be a lot easier if you have these in hand. Now, into the video. ARR Relic, or officially known as the Zodiac Weapon, is among the most grindiest things one can do in FF14. And it is also quite confusing if you wish to obtain the second one after your first one, since the process is slightly different. However, the results are definitely up there in terms of the glamour tier list in this game. In today's video, I am going to guide you step by step and tell you everything, I mean everything, you need to know to obtain the Zodiac weapon you desire, whether it's your first time or second time. So starting at step 1, obtaining the base weapon of your class. If this is your first time around, then talk to Nadric Ironheart in Vesper Bay in Western Sandalin for the quest, the Weaponsmith of Legend. Follow this quest line until Geralt, who you will be seeing a lot from now on, asks you to retrieve a broken weapon of your class. If this isn't your first time here, then talk to Geralt in Hearstmill, Northshroud, and acquire the quest of retrieving weapon directly. Once you have the broken part, talk to Geralt again, who will now ask you to buy a job-specific weapon attached with 2 specific materials. Here's the list of weapons and the required materia for every single job from Console Game Wiki. Once you obtain the weapon, come back and talk to Geralt again, who will now ask you to defeat the Dorm Chimera from the ARR trial, the Chimera. From this point onward, remember this tip. Save all the gears you get from trials and dungeons. Note that this can be done unsynced like all the other required dungeons and trials in the Zodiac questline. After defeating the Chimera, talk to Geralt again, who will send you to Rowena in Revenant's Toe, who will ask you to go through the Amtapor Keep dungeon. Once you are done with that, talk to her again, who will send you back to Geralt. Before going back though, purchase 1 Razahan Quenching Oil and 3 Sevenarian Mist from Orina in total for 75 tombstone. Then teleport back to Northshroud and talk to Geralt again, who will send you to kill 24 specific beastmen in their respective stronghold that is job specific. Their locations are as displayed. Here is a great segment to mention something quite useful. If you are told to kill enemies in a specific zone and you have no idea how to find them, there are 2 ways to go about it. Go to your regional map, zoom in a bit till you can see the different sections' names. Although not 100% useful, the enemies said to be in that area will be in the general proximity of that section. And the second way is to just look up the name of the enemy, which will tell you the specific location of those enemies. Once you are done with the beastmen, go back to Geralt, who will ask you to complete Hydra, Bow of Ember's Heart, Howling Eye Heart, and the Naval Heart in sequence. Again, all of these can be soloed if you are high enough level. Then finally, turn in the Razahan Quenching Oil for the completion of step 1. I know this may sound like a lot, but to actually go through with it, it really shouldn't take more than an hour. And on the bright side, for step 2, the Zenith Weapon, all you gotta do is just unequip the weapon you just received, go to the furnace that's right beside Geralt, and turn the weapon plus the Sevenarian Mist you just bought. Done. Step 2 complete. No quest whatsoever whether it's your first time or second time. Here's a great place to know that I would highly recommend you create 2 gear lists, one with your usual weapon and one with the Zenith and the later Zodiac weapon equipped. This way you can quickly switch in and out of the weapon to proceed with some of the quests. Moving on to step 3. This is where the questline starts to become a bit grindy, but this step isn't too bad in my experience. If this is your first time here, talk to Geralt for the quest, Up in Arms, and follow the quest till completion, or after talking to Jazan. If this is your second time, however, you won't have the quest. Instead, you can just take your Zenith weapon and get straight to work, which is to farm 12 Atma crystals. These crystals are dropped from fates spawn in these areas. The drop rate can be pretty bad, so just be patient. Once you obtain one, the game will let you know with a pop-up window. It is not unheard of to miss that pop-up, so whenever you are feeling despair, check your inventory and you may already have one. Also, though I wouldn't really recommend this unless you are serious about getting all of the Zodiac weapons, as long as you are equipped with a Zenith weapon, you can farm however many crystals you like in an area. It is not like once you obtain one crystal, you won't be able to get another one from the same region for the same weapon, so just keep that in mind. Once you have the crystal, go talk to Jason for the upgrade. One annoying thing that I noticed for second time Zodiac weapon farming was that if you have not completed this quest, then Jason wouldn't talk to you about your Zodiac weapon until you accepted the quest first. You don't have to complete the quest and can abandon it later on, but just remember to accept it before moving on. Step number 4, the Animus Weapon. This step is the most notorious step of Zodiac Weapon. I do have some tips and tricks to help you along the way, but first thing first, let me remind you real quick, have your Atma Weapon equipped for all the things you're about to do for this step. So if this is your first time around, speak with Jason to pick up the quest Trials of the Brace, who will lead you to Jusana in Modana and the completion of the quest. If it's your second time, then go straight to her, talk to her, and a window like this will pop up. Each time you select one of these 4 categories, she will sell you a book for 100 poetics, and you can only have one book at a time, and there are 9 of them that you need to complete. Each book has 4 categories, first being enemies, then dungeons, then fates, and finally leaves. The most annoying among all of these are the fates, because the fates that you are looking for may not have spawned yet when you arrive at the area, or is close to completion, or is about to go away. And there are fates that will require you to perform specific actions like completing another fate, talk to a certain guy, and etc. So going from the top to bottom of the books, here are all the fates that need such actions. The Enemy of My Enmity in East Shroud from the Book of Skyfire 1 in Category 1 requires you to complete the Enemy of My Enemy first. Breaching South Tide Gate in Western Latnosia from the Book of Skyfire 2 in the first category requires the completion of gouging the South Tide Gate. Breaching North Gate in Western Latnosia from the Book of Skyfire 2 in the second category requires the completion of gouging North Tide Gate. The Cerulean Road in Northern Sanalan from the Book of Netherfold 1 from the second category requires you to talk to the wary merchant that is located here. Surprise in Upper Latnosia from the Book of Skywind 1 in Category 3 does not have any prerequisites, but it is extremely difficult in the sense that the fate will disappear very shortly if you do not participate as soon as it starts, so camping it is highly recommended. Tower of Power from the Book of Skywind 2 from the third category requires you to talk to the Hellenard guard who is spawned right here. And finally, Schism in Outer Latnosia from the Book of Skyers 1 in the 4th category requires you to talk to the Storm Private right here to begin. Also, for this one and a few other fates, you need to destroy these crates or certain enemy types in order for the boss to spawn. With these special fates out of the way, let's talk leaves, which are to me the second worst part about this. For those of you who don't know, leaves on the map have symbols like this, but there is a difference between different leaves. For this weapon, just worry about the Grand Company leaves and the battle leaves. Luckily, leaves for all 9 books will always be in 3 locations: Koizar Central Highland, Northern Sanalan, and Modorna. Only the first and the last area had the distinction between Grand Company and battle leaves. So look closely on what your book suggested before taking the quest. All the leaves have something in common. The quest that you are looking for may not be available at the moment. So what you do in this case is that for battle leaves, take whatever quest that is now available. I usually take the one that gives venture and complete them. Once complete, hit return to the nearest city, which will get you straight to the quest giver and obtain the rewards. Once that is done, the leaves should be refreshed, and in most case scenarios the one you're looking for should be there. If not, repeat the process. As for the Grand Company leaves, do the one that is under the same Grand Company of the required leaves to refresh the leaf list. Meaning that if your book asks for a leaf from the Twin Eldar and you do not have the quest from the corresponding leaf giver, do another Twin Eldar leaf to refresh the leaf list. But the problem is that the book won't tell you what Grand Company a leaf belongs to, so here is every single Grand Company leaves and their corresponding Grand Company. Now for the enemies, which is the third annoying but a lot better than the previous 2. Remember the 2 tricks about the map I mentioned earlier and do them. Sometimes, however, there will only be 1 or 2 enemies that you are supposed to kill that is spawned in the area currently. In that case, just wait around for a bit, like a minute or 3, and the enemy will respawn. The dungeons are actually the least thing you need to worry about since they are of certainty. I don't know if you are able to use a stronger weapon to complete these dungeons first and then switch back to your Atma weapon to complete the dungeon to get the same completion. I have always done these with my Zodiac weapon equipped at all time because time is the least thing you wish to put on the line for this weapon questline. Now let's talk strategy. I do not claim mine to be the most efficient, but I consider it to be sanity preserving enough for me to get through these. Once you receive a book, immediately go look for the 3 fates in their respective areas. If you're lucky, you will find 1 or 2 or even all 3 of them there and you can get this biggest uncertainty out of the way. If you cannot find any or you cannot find any more, then I would first check if you have any enemies that you need to kill or leaves to complete in that area that you are in and deal with that. If no, or if you have killed the enemy or leave and still no fate in that area, then quickly glance through the fate timer on this map, then go check out the other 2 fate locations again. Find the one with some of the current fate about to run out and do either the enemy or leaves in that area. If you don't have fate spawned in those 2 areas as well, then go do a leave in a different area plus clearing the enemies in that area. Note that some areas have multiple groups of enemies that you need to clear, most likely from Southern Sandaland, Modorna, and Coisa Central Highland. Once you are done with that, check all 3 fate maps again. If none, repeat the process until you are done with all the leaves. In most cases, you should have at least encountered 1 fate or 2 when you are done with the leaves in this method. However, if you still don't have the correct fate spawning, then do 2 groups of enemies whether across 2 maps or in the same map before checking the remaining areas again for fates. If you are done with both the leaves and the enemies and there is still no fate or have 1 or 2 left, pick the one with fates about to refresh and solo queue into a dungeon that you are required to complete. And always remember to have your Atma equipped before doing any of the 4 categories for the books. You don't wish to complete a rare fate only to realize you don't have the weapon equipped. Chances are once you are done with a dungeon, new fates should have spawned and you can check it across the remaining areas that you have fates left in. Once you are done with the dungeon and still have fates left, which really rarely happens in all of my 3 runs of my Zodiac weapons, wait in the area and camp the fate. Or do a daily roulette MSQ for the poetic because you will need poetic later on even when you have maxed that out. Always remember, fate is greater than leaves, which is greater than the enemy and is greater than the dungeons. Always constantly check if the fate has spawned or not and don't worry about the other till later. Once you are done with all 9 books, then let me tell you 70 or even 70% of the Zodiac weapon is already done. With all 9 books completed, buy 3 bottles of superior enchanted ink from Oriana for 75 poetics. Then talk to Jazan who will give you your Animus Zodiac Weapon. Step number 5. This step can be pretty grinding, but just bear with me here. If it's your first time here, talk to Jazan and follow the quest until you finish talking to this guy. Turn in the 3 inks you bought last step and obtain a Sapphire Scroll. If it's your second time, go talk to him straight up in the Bonfire Central Sandaland with the inks and get a scroll directly. No quest involved. Now you need to farm 75 Alexandrites. The fastest way to go about it is to do the mysterious map that can be exchanged for 75 poetic per map. Each map will need to be deciphered, which is an action that can be found on the general action bar, and while you are there, drag the action dig onto your hotbar as you will need it. Each map will then give you a zoomed in location of a specific area on a specific map with a red cross indicating the treasure. Also, you don't need to fiddle around with your map section, you can just click on the zoomed in map section and be directly to the map area and teleport it to there. You can try to find all the treasure locations as most of them are pretty obvious, or look them up online. Link in the descriptions by the way. Once there, use the action dig. This one is pretty lenient as to how far you are away from the actual treasure, so you don't need to be too exact about your location. Then you will get a treasure chest, open it, mobs will appear, clear them, and they obtain the Alexandrites. Each chest will give 5 which means you need 15 maps in total. Once you get the Alexandrite, find the market board, search for whatever level 1 materia that is the cheapest and start binding it with your sphere. The way you bind it is by opening the sphere, by tapping on it, find a section that you just purchased the level 1 material on, click on it, be pumped to this window and just click bind. 3 things you need to know about this step. Number 1, stats and materia don't matter since this weapon will just end up becoming a glamour in the end, so choose whatever level 1 materia is the cheapest. Number 2, you have to progress in the order of the materia level. You cannot jump to level 2 if you have not finished combining it with materia level 1. Number 3, combining materia onto the sphere may fail, and it will cost you the materia but not the Alexandrite, so it is really all about price of the materia. Make sure to check across servers through this website, link in the description, and do server transfers if necessary if the price of the materia on your server is too expensive. Once you have a fully binded sphere, go talk to Jazan and he will give you your Novus Zodiac weapon. Step 6, the third to last step and the second to first grindiest. If this is your first time, talk to Jazan for the quest, Soulgaze Relic and have him Soulgaze your weapon. If you are a paladin, remember to Soulgaze both the sword and the shield. Once Soulgazed, I think he will then give you a glass. This step was a bit hazy to me, but the glass isn't necessary for the completion of this step anyway. If this is your second time around, talk to him and have him Soulgaze your weapon right away. Once you are done with that, you need to start to light farm. With your Novus weapon equipped, there will be a list of activities that you can do that will give you light reward. Some of those activities give you more light and some give you less. At one given time, some activities will grant you a bonus, which is essentially the light point tier above the default one, and this bonus rotates every single 2 hours. In total, you need 2000 light points to complete this step. Sounds like a lot, yeah, but in reality, it shouldn't take more than 2 hours by doing Aurum Veil and the Ball of Ember Extreme. The first one gives you default 48 points and a bonus of 96 points, and the latter one grants you 32 default and 48 with a bonus. At first glance, you should go with Aurum Veil without a question, but I actually would recommend the Ifrit Extreme more for a certain job because of 2 reasons. Number 1, I hate Aurum Veil as a dungeon. And number 2, with a tank, Aurum Veil would take around 2 minutes to finish. With all my runs of paladins and warriors combined, my fastest record is around 1 minute and 55 seconds I believe. While in contrast, if your DPS is enough, Ifrit can be done in 30 seconds and much less. So in the time you done with 1 Aurum Veil, you can potentially get 4 Ifrit done. Considering Aurum Veil give a bonus which is 96 points and Ifrit doesn't, it still outweighs the Aurum Veil by a significant margin, or quite a significant margin. However, to be done with Ifrit within 30 seconds is not really easy because to do so, you at least have to skip the third phase entirely. With food buff and a grade 7 strength potion, I think I was able to clear Ifrit with Paladin under 30 seconds 5 times in all the runs. But with Warrior, I have figured out a really consistent way in doing so. Mind you, my Warrior at that point is eye level 550 something with the Zodiac Weapon equipped with no materia binded. So the way you do it is by popping a strength potion, inner release, primal rend, upheaval, onslaught, fell cleave, and onslaught. Ifrit will then go away into phase 2, which makes him invulnerable and you don't have to do anything during that time. Once you see the fire starting to fade, pop one inner chaos, and once you see the invuln go away, attack with inner chaos into onslaught and pop another inner chaos and attack with it to finish off. This way I have been able to do Ifrit in 30 seconds consistently. If you are doing this with a DPS, then I would recommend you to test both the Aurum Veil and the Ifrit Extreme before committing to one. If you cannot skip Ifrit final phase consistently, which will put you at a completion timer of around 1 minute and 30 seconds, then doing Aurum Veil is much better. Also remember to loot the boss once you defeated it. If you get the horn from Ifrit, this horn in particular, save it in your chocobo saddlebag or whatever you want to. This can be of great help for another relic guide coming soon, by the way, subscribe to find out. You can check your light progress with the Zodiac glass whenever you want to. Once you are done with the light tuning, a pop-up screen will happen, and once you are done, take the weapon to Zeta, who will then give you your Nexus Zodiac Weapon. Step number 7, the second to last. We are almost done here. This step, I am not gonna hold you, is more like annoying than grinding. If this is your first time here, complete the quest Wherefore Art Thou, Zodiac. Then you will need to complete 4 more quests after that. If this is your second time, then you can move straight on to complete the 4 quests. The only good part about this part is that you don't have to be equipped with your Nexus Zodiac Weapon to complete any of the 4 quests. Hell, you don't even need to use the job that you are completing the relic for to complete those quests. The 4 quests are a Pounce of Flesh from Papana in Mordana, a Labor of Love from Guiding Star in Mordana, a Treasure Mother in Mordana, and Method in Her Malice from Adkin in Bonfire in Central Sanalin. Each of these quests will ask you to complete 4 dungeons, deliver 3 materials, and 2 crafted items. So let's talk about how to get each of them first. Starting with the materials, Bombard Core can be purchased for 20k company seal in your respective Grand Company once you reach 2nd Lieutenant rank in that Grand Company, and you need 4 of them. Remember how I said you need to save the loot you get from dungeons and trials? You can sell these weapons and armors at your Grand Company by selecting this and this. If you have gears from later expansions that you don't need anymore, those can be sold for a lot more than the ARR ones. 4 Sacred Spring Water, which can be bought for 800 Poetic in total from Orion in Mordana, 1 Bronze Lake Crystal for 100k Gil from the Junk Monger in Upper Lenosia, 1 Elegant Raisin for 100k Gil from Merchant and Mender in Southern Sanalin, 1 Ferrite Sand for 100k Gil from Merchant and Mender in Coisa Central Highland, and 1 Brass Kettle for 100k Gil from Tool, Suppliers, and Vendors in North Shroud. After you get all of these, go to the market board to buy these crafted items or craft them yourself. Remember, these things have to be high quality, which means having a yellow thing on top of the item or this symbol besides it. Once you are done with all the materials, get your highest damaging class and complete all 4 of the quests. Once you are done with the quest, you can then go to Zeta, who will give you your Zodiac Brave Weapon. Step number 8, we are at the finish line. If this is your first time, do the quest Rise and Shine from Zeta and its follow-up quest. Complete it after talking to Riemann in Swift Perch or the town at the bottom crystal in Western Lenosia. If this is your second time, go straight to Riemann and talk to him. Riemann will then sell you Mahatma for 50 Poetic 1 at a time. You will then need to do the same life farming you did in step 6 for these Mahatma, and there are 12 in total. However, this time is much easier than the last time. In my experience, 2 to 3 Ifrit Extreme or 2 minutes to 3 minutes in max will fully attune 1 Mahatma. After the completion of each attunement, a pop-up screen will be there, and then you just need to talk to Riemann for the next Mahatma. Once you are done with all 12, well, congratulations, you are done with the ARR relic. Go to Zeta for one last time and get your Zodiac Zeta Weapon. And if you want to get replicas for any of the steps in the Zodiac relic, just talk to this guy and select this, and you will be able to get all the replicas for every single steps. So congratulations again on your completion of the Zodiac Weapon, whether it's your first time, second time, or how many times that you are on right now. I hope my guide has helped you in one way or the other, and thank you so much for watching along the video. Big things are coming to this channel in 2 weeks time. There won't be a new video next week because I really need some time to be working on it. After that, I may do the Heaven Sword Relic guide, or I may play the new Armored Core 6 game, which I'm really excited about. So if you would like to see any of those things happen, then please give a sub to the channel, and I really appreciate the watch time. Thank you so much for watching again, and peace.